In this video, I'd like to discuss California's Proposition 4 in 2024, also known as the Safe Drinking Water, Wildfire Prevention, Drought Preparedness, and Clean Air Bond Act of 2024. First, with the path to the ballot, it was introduced on February 17, 2023. It passed the State Senate on May 31, 2024, with a 33-5 vote. It passed the State Assembly on July 3, 2024, with a 66-6 vote. It was signed by the Governor on July 3, 2024. The result of the election, yes, had 9,055,116 votes, or a majority of the people who voted in Los Angeles, San Diego, Orange, Riverside, San Bernardino, Santa Clara, Alameda, Sacramento, Contra Costa, San Francisco, Ventura, Fresno, San Mateo, San Joaquin, Sonoma, Stanislaus, Solano, Santa Barbara, San Luis Obispo, Monterey, Marin, Tulare, Santa Cruz, Butte, Yolo, Merced, Napa, Humboldt, Nevada, Imperial, Mendocino, San Bernardino, Lake Inyo, Trinity, and Alpine counties, and the no votes had 6,086,414. So going into this huge $10 billion bonds, which can be sold, how they're distributed, there's 8 areas, and no more than 7% or $20 million, I guess if a specific area can be used on administrative costs. First, beginning with the water supply and water quality portion of the bonds, $610 million to go to improve water quality, provide clean, safe, and reliable drinking water, $25 million to safe, clean, reliable drinking water for tribes, so that's $25 million of the $610 million explained. $193,125,000 going towards groundwater storage, $193,125,000 going towards groundwater recharge, $200 million going to the Department of Conservation's multi-benefit land repurposing program, $386,250,000 going towards water recycling or water reuse and recycling, $75 million going towards California Water Commission's water storage investment program, $62,500 going towards brackish desalinization, contaminant, and salt removal, as well as salinity management, $15 million going to the Department of Water Resources water data management, $75 million going towards conveyance projects, and $75 million going to the Department of Water Resources water conservation program, and their various programs and what they work on. I'm going to look at the reduction of flood risk and improvement of stormwater management, $150 million to the Sacramento-San Joaquin Delta, $150 million to flood control subversion program, $250 million to update levees, weirs, bypasses, and facilities, $480 million towards dam and reservoir enhancements, and $110 million towards multiple benefit urban stormwater management projects. Continuing with water, there's the protections of the bodies of water, which includes $100 million to the Department of Water Resources Integrated Regional Water Management, and what they work on there with a program or programs or a lot of different things. $40 million for the Los Angeles River, $40 million for the Los Angeles River watershed, $50 million for the Riverine Stewardship Program, $25 million for the Santa Ana River, $25 million for the Urban Stream Restoration Programs, $25 million for the Natural Resource Agency for the Natural Resource Agency to improve wildlife refuges and wetland habitats, $10 million for the Lower American River, $25 million for Coyote Valley, $25 million for West Coyote Hills, $50 million for basically any water project in the California-Mexico area, like that border area, that would impact Californians. $20 million for the Clear Lake watershed. Something interesting, $170 million for the Salton Sea, which $10 million of this is to go, or $10 million in this whole water thing is to go towards the Salton Sea Conservancy. There's also other authorities the state has created for the Salton Sea, which that $10 million can also go to, but mainly it's looking right now like that will go to the Salton Sea Conservancy at this moment. Other water items, to just finish this water part, the $150 million towards Wildlife Conservation Board and water acquisition, $50 million towards Wildlife Conservation Board habitat enhancement and restoration program, $20 million for Natural Resource Agency education. Now looking at the forest, $135 million for wildfire mitigation, $185 million for the Department of Conservation's regional forest and fire capacity, $170,000 for local projects, $175,000 for Department of Forestry and Fire Protection's forest health. The conservation regional forest and fire capacities could be anything, programs, anything that works around it. The $170 million for local projects, a little different. The $175 million for the Department of Forestry and Fire Protection's forest health. This would be programs program, anything they work on. $185 million for local fire prevention, $25 million for the fire training center, $200 million for forest health and watershed improvement, $50 million for fire preparation, $33,500,000 for the Sierra Nevada. Increasing on this very long or this very lengthy, what these funds for forces that come from it. $33,500,000 for the Santa Monica Mountains, $33,500,000 for the state coastal area, $33,500 for this, $33,500,000 for the San Gabriel and low Los Angeles rivers and mountains, and the lower Los Angeles rivers and mountains, $25,500,000 for the San Diego rivers, $15 million for firefighter health, safety, and helping them the firefighters attack fires, $15 million for vegetation mitigation, fuel reduction, education, equipment, and firefighter safety, $50 million for vegetative waste and for that to be used for non-combustible uses, $25 million for detection and assessment of fire ignitions, $35 million for reduction of electricity transmission fires, and $50 million to respond to emergencies and promote climate resilience through natural resources, transportation, energy, and housing infrastructure. Now looking at the coast, $450 million to protect coast, $85 million for the San Francisco Bay, $350 million for the State Coastal Conservancy, Coastal Flood Management Program, anything they're working on there, $135 to improve coastal ecosystems, $75 million for the California Sea Level Rise Mitigation and Adaptation Act of 2021, $50 million for the Department of Parks and Recreation. Something I should add to that beginning, $415,000 to protect coast. At least $85 million of that is to go towards the San Francisco Bay. So that $85 million is included in that $415 million. $75 million for the Natural Resources Agency, Department of Fish and Wildlife for their island biosecurity initiatives, adaptive cooperative management for fisheries, modernizing electronic management systems, and increasing electronic technologies and improving kelp ecosystems. $75 million. Well, actually, let's get to that. Modernizing electronic management systems are for fisheries. The increasing electronic technologies are also for fisheries. $75 million to remove obsolete water infrastructure. $25 million for the Department of Fish and Wildlife hatchery upgrades. For the heat mitigation section now, $50 million for extreme heat in urban heat islands to combat that. $150 million for Strategic Growth Council's Transformative Climate Communities Program, $100 million for urban greening, $50 million for the Department of Forestry and Fire Protection for their work in urban forests, the program, something of that nature, $60 million for the community resilience centers, $40 million for fairground emergency operations. Basically, that's just like a fairground and there's a huge heat incident, the fairground would be used to provide emergency support and assistance for people. And that's what they wanted. That's what's to be done if the bonds are sold for that $40 million purpose. For biodiversity, $870 million for fish protection, biodiversity, public access, and conservation, $48 million to the Baldwin Hills Conservancy, $29 million to the California Tahoe Conservancy, $11 million for the Coachella Valley Mountains Conservancy, $29 million for the Sacramento San Joaquin Conservancy, $48 million for the San Diego River Conservancy, $48 million for the San Gabriel and Lower Los Angeles Rivers Conservancy, $11 million for the San Joaquin River Conservancy, $48 million for the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy, $48 million for the Sierra Nevada Conservancy, $180 million for the habitat connectivity, and $80 million of that must be used in the San Andreas corridor, $10 million for Natural Resources Agency for basically tribal-based nature solutions, and $22 million for the Southern Ballona Creek watershed. Now looking at the farmland, $65 million to improve soil health, $40 million for water use efficiency, $20 million for invasive species mitigation, $15 million to protect farmlands and rangelands, $20 million for mobile farmer markets, $20 million for year-round farmers and fishermen markets, $20 million for city farms and gardens, $15 million for regional farm equipment sharing, $15 million for Native American foods to, help bring those to sale, $30 million, or at least, and to grow, $30 million for land for socially disadvantaged farmers and ranchers, tribal producers and beginning farmers and ranchers, $15 million for van pool vehicles and clean technologies, $15 million for agricultural research institutions, and $10 million for no-cost low-income farmer energy efficiency upgrades. Now looking at parks, $200 million for parks and park-port neighborhoods, $200 million to reduce climate impacts, expand outdoor recreation, disadvantaged and vulnerable areas, $100 million for state park upgrades and public park trail upgrades, $175 million for the Department of Parks and Recreation, $25 million for Natural Resource Agency education purposes. Now look at the final section. For air, you have $325 million for clean energy transmission, $50 million for long duration energy storage for that program. $475 million for offshore wind generation. And then you look here. So this is a new committee, the Safe Drinking Water, Wildfire Prevention, Drought Preparedness, and Clean Air Bond Finance Committee. You have the Director of Finance, the Treasurer, which is the chairperson of this committee, the Controller, the Secretary of the Natural Resources Agency, and Secretary for Environmental Protection. Basically how this works. The bonds were approved, but the sale hasn't happened. The legislature would have to sign that, okay, we're going to sell the bonds for this purpose. All that is like the maximum amount of money that can get it out. Now, there, a certain amount of money for those purposes are going to have to be approved. Not all of that money will have to come to fruition. Only whatever is signed. Whatever is signed, and will then, when the bonds are to be sold, this committee will look through them, approve of the bonds to be sold after it comes from the legislature, and then they'll oversee the selling of the bonds. So, yeah, this is Proposition 4. A lot of money for a lot of different things. And yeah, as is $10 billion, there's a lot of things which are to be improved if the legislature is looking to sell bonds for those purposes.